So yeah, tonight we've got two presenters. So we're going to jump in, and Cory's going to talk about the new version of Ionic that just released, and some of the things you need to do to migrate your projects. And there isn't too much to that. He found, and so he'll go through that. And then after that, then Brett will cover the. Let me see. How did you put it? The CID. See, I had to shorten it, from what you gave me to put it online to fit in the Meetup and YouTube and StreamYard. But basically, adding CI/CD testing and vulnerability detection. So getting it all in your pipeline so that you're always getting a good check on your code and getting feedback. And so he's going to go into that probably a little more depth, a little more meat in that presentation. So let's dive in. And you can follow along with your laptop. I'm going to try to follow along a bit, but go ahead.
Do you want to do any intros at all?
What's that?
I'd love to be you.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Let's do intros.
YouTube and want to look at my guys.
Hey, come on in. You know the drill. But you can pull up a chair here on the side. There's a chair right there. Again, we're doing the round table, and we even shrunk it a little bit.
Yeah.
But let's do quick intros and what you're working on, what you're hoping to learn. I'm Todd Hale. I'm a part-time instructor here at MTech. Gets us into the building, and they're great to let us meet here. Utah JS also meets here. They've got a great meetup, and you see Ionic provides the food, so thanks to them for that. And I'm just going to spin my laptop around, and we're just going to do the easy. So go ahead, Ben.
I'm Ben Callahan. I'm a team lead for Edigy, just up the road from here. We are a local fintech company, and really excited about the CI/CD stuff today. So I've been doing a lot of that at work recently.
Awesome.
Nice. Hi, my name is Dave Gardner. I spent the last 5 years working in DevOps, and now I'm doing some consulting, and I've got a client that wants to build an app in Ionic, and I don't know much about it other than it's a cross-platform framework. So here I am. I'm ready to learn.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm Brett Palmer. I'm mostly in infrastructure and DevOps platform engineering. Background is in just software development, so I've done Ionic, been developing Ionic for a few years, not full time, but off and on. And I do a lot more DevOps stuff now. So pipelines are kind of something I'm pretty excited about. And yeah, we'll talk about the AI tools.
Awesome. All right.
My name is Alfie, and I'm a mathematician who's been working as a software engineer, and I'm looking for contract positions.
Yeah.
And while I haven't really dived into Ionic yet, I'm curious about it, which is why I like coming to these.
Yeah, great.
I'm Matthew. I'm just here for the food.
All right.
And I'm Cory McArthur, the founder of One Goal Finance and an Ionic developer expert. I love building and stuff in Ionic. Been doing it since V1, and that's why I'm here.
All right, cool. Well, let's jump in. Cory, go ahead and take over. Present.
There is the light and dark themes that are now included as part of the default styles. Beforehand, they had some guides on how to implement light and dark styles, and you can actually just enable those just by including their themes. You can now disable action sheet buttons. Wasn't possible before. This is part of iOS 17, I believe. So they're trying to mirror more of iOS 17 what's possible, and that also works actually on material design as well. There's an updated picker component syntax. We'll go over that in a minute. And then the legacy form syntax is now removed. So in Ionic v7, it was all deprecated, but now it's totally gone, and you need to update some things for it. And then dynamic font scaling. We went over that, I think, 2 meetups ago, but that is also now the default. So If you haven't done it in V7, it'll now be the default, and you'll be able to see font sizes change as people turn that on their phones. So going through the light and dark themes, it's really just as easy as an import. So they have this. In fact, maybe I should show the docs as I do this. But if you go to there's a blog post about announcing Ionic Beta, and there's even a upgrading to V8 guide that goes through basically everything that I'm doing in this presentation. But the import is really just this theme variables one you have to import, and then the dark theme is this guy right here. So it's import your platform. So if it's Angular, React, CSS, palettes, dark system, you can also do the dark class. So if you want it to be dark theme based on a class that you apply to the HTML, then that can also work. And maybe it's something that your users opt into.
Yeah, doesn't that give you like more control to
Yeah,
set
so
and remove a class?
yeah, so for me,
Give
I
them a
just do
button.
it. I just do it based off of like the platform. So if you turn on dark mode on your iPhone, it'll show dark mode in our app. But you can also use the dark mode always, which is obviously dark mode all the time, or class based, so that they could toggle it on and off and choose their preference while using your app. Oh, where's my slides? Sorry. The other thing with dark mode is that they've updated some background colors and text color variables. So you had this ion step color that helped you go from like a dark grayscale to a light grayscale. And then it was inverted when you're on dark mode. They've now separated that. So they're, instead of being ion color step dash, like it was like 100, 200, 300, 400. Oh gosh, sorry. Up to 900. Now it's actually called ion background color step. So they've separated the background color and the text color. So you can actually have different steps on the text that's separate from the background color. I did find that it actually worked without it. So I think you can still use your ion color step, but you'll want to move over to the ion background color step in the future. I had already implemented my own dark scheme. So my own little like gotcha was once I updated Ionic 8, the dark theme was overriding a lot of things, even though I had my own variable set. So if you have your own variable set, their theme is specific to material design and iOS, and it's kind of nice because it's matching material design colors and iOS colors for default dark modes. So if you are choosing your own colors, for me, I have like a lighter. In fact, I could show this really quick. So our colors are like a darker. Let me go to a demo one. Report. Our colors are a little, they're like bluer. They have a little cooler shade to them, where the defaults are a little warmer, dark colors. So because we have our own custom colors, we wanted to make sure that we kept the dark colors rather than using their defaults. So again, if you're going to use your own colors, you have to add the .md or .ios like specific classes there, and then add your media query. Disable action sheet buttons. This was pretty straightforward. This button is disabled. It's going to have colors that reflect it as disabled on iOS and Android. It's just a disabled property, really easy. The updated picker is an interesting one. If you remember using a picker in the past, you had to do it through passing like options, and the options could then be selected. Now it's actually like DOM elements. So you have an ion picker column option, and you can actually put that right in the DOM. And so it's easier to like make those conditional or be more customized with it. And now you can also do them inline, pop over in a modal, or at the bottom of the screen like the default is. So if you're trying to use a picker like this, it's a lot better than it was before, and it's a lot more performant. They use a CSS grid snap so that it's locks in place, where before I think they had to use JavaScript or something for that. So there's just some overhead that didn't need to be there. The legacy form syntax is what they had in Ionic 6 and before. Ionic 7, it was deprecated. So you were getting these warning console logs anytime you were using it. But before, it basically looked like this. You had an ion item with a label that said position fixed, and then after the label, you'd put the Ion checkbox. And now the labels are directly in line with those elements. So an Ion checkbox, you'd put it inside of the Ion checkbox element. And then you can change the label placement by setting that property. The same thing applies for like Ion inputs, as well as like Ion radios, Ion checkboxes. I guess that is a checkbox. Ion toggles. So rather than having to nest an Ion item label and checkbox, you can put the label more close to the element itself.
That's cool.
So reduces your boilerplate. You were just telling us that it broke some of your end-to-end tests, so you might want to like check that if you are upgrading to Ionic 7, because the DOM elements are different now with this new syntax. Anything else on that one? Oh, it's also more accessible this way because the label is actually tied to the Ion checkbox. So now if a screen reader is looking at your application, it'll be better for them to find and mark things as toggled on or off or checked or unchecked. Dynamic font scaling, which is what we went over 2 meetups ago, is now the default. So what this means is that if somebody opens up your app on an iPhone, they can change like the font size to be larger or smaller than the default. Typically, people will pump it up if they have a hard time reading the text. And so in the past, your font size was 16 and it didn't respect any of those. Now it does. So you might want to check your app and verify it still scales well and looks good on all devices. If it doesn't and it's terrible, like you can opt out of it, but that's not recommended. Obviously, you want to just let your users pump up the font if they want to. But it's just the Ion dynamic font variable that's now in there. So the tips, and we went over this 2 meetups ago, so if you want to look at that video, that could be helpful. But the tips are, rather than using pixels on any of your font sizes, use rems or ems. Rem is going to be scaled based off of the base size, so like the body size. And I think on iOS, it's like 16 or 17. And so you can do a little math there if you're just trying to convert pixels to rems. And then M is scaled from the parent element. So what Ionic does is they recommend if it's an icon or something, you could use M's, but most text would just be based off of rems. So the fonts do grow when the user changes what their default font size is. That's it. Any questions about Ionic 8? There literally was no errors thrown for mine. I'd already like fixed any warnings that I had on the legacy stuff, and the CSS classes just had a little bit of updating. So as soon as I fixed those 2 little CSS problems with the dark themes, it was ready to go. So nothing too hard.
So you've updated your app?
I haven't shipped it, but it is updated. Yeah. Yep.
Cool. Yeah, I thought we just did an upgrade, and that worked smoothly until we started looking at playwright tests.
Playwright tests.
So we just need to. We've broken it up into page objects and stuff like that, so it's not too terrible, but just kind of part of the upgrade process.
Mm-hmm.
How long do you think it'll take you to fix all those tests?
I think, it's a small app, so I think a week or 2. Not too bad.
Yeah.
We did talk about.
And that's your side job app.
Yeah,
it's
that's not my full.
your hobby app. Yeah.
Yeah. So I count on tests a lot because I'm not always in it all the time. So you forget what you did, and then so tests are like a lifesaver to me. So for me, we do tests as part of the pipeline because that's my only confidence that I know it still works. And if I get another developer in to help me with something, I know it doesn't break it. So I learned the sad way of using contractors and then spend all my time manual testing, and I didn't like that very much. So
I can record that statement.
Yeah. Excellent. Thanks, Cory.
Okay. So this presentation is mostly just going to be a presentation. We're going to talk about CI/CD pipelines and specifically AI and how that can improve your software lifecycle. I think this will be kind of an intro. And as I've said, I have my own Ionic app, and I run it AWS on an EKS cluster with a Mongo backend, and it integrates with a CRM package. And we just did an upgrade to Ionic 8. So some of this stuff, my pipeline's currently broken, so we will talk about it and then may have a follow-up presentation where I can give a demo and show more on it. But part of this is, I don't know, a lot of you, if you're with, here's just introduction. So like I've said, I work for myself. I'm a consultant, mostly the state of Utah, but I do a lot of my own stuff. I also am one of the organizers for DevOps Days, which is coming up in October. And here's some contact information for me. So I'm sure most of you have heard of a lot of the AI tools. It's all the buzzword now. And where I currently work, there's some reluctance in using them because there's some security issues and stuff like that. So I use them a lot on my own stuff because they're my projects, and I think it's important for developers to learn these new tools. So we're going to talk about those. Is everything working? Okay. So some of the popular AI tools, everyone probably heard ChatGPT. That's the one that kind of made the first splash. A great tool. And then GitHub Co-Pilot from Microsoft, which I believe is based on ChatGPT. I think they use the same model. Yeah. And then Code Whisperer from Amazon is another one. So some of the benefits with AI tools is increased efficiency. If you are, it kind of replaces the old Google search and Stack Overflow type of things. So like ChatGPT, you can put questions in, it can answer things, enhances learning. I find it, the old Agile days when you had pair programming, to me, it's kind of like you're pair programming without another developer. So it helps you catch things that maybe you didn't know, improve code quality, error reduction. So a lot of boilerplate stuff that I think you do a lot. It helps you do a standard way of doing that. And then here's some of the cool things I think we often fall down on is documentation assistance. So it can help you write better docs from your code. If you're a typical developer like me, writing comes painfully slow. So it's one of those things you kind of wait to do. And then, you write a comment and it's obvious it's the name of the function and didn't really document anything anyway.
And wait to do it, and then just don't do it.
And then you just don't do it. And then supports multiple languages and frameworks. So some of the cautions, over-reliance on them if you totally depend on those. I think, like, I enjoy it because I'm an old guy, so I learned the hard way. So I know how to ask a lot of questions that I used to do the old way. So I find the AI tools fantastic. I know what to ask, and I'm always impressed on that they're able to, even when I use acronyms and stuff like that, come back with pretty good answers. Quality of suggestions can vary. So the other thing is if you just blindly accept them, that's a mistake because they're not always right. And the one thing I really don't like about it is they're never, like when you give an answer to someone and you're not really confident, you say, I think this is how you do it. They're always, oh yeah, this is how you do it. And then you go, and especially if you know it's not, no, that's not how you do it. And then they correct themselves, say, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, you don't do it that way, you do it this way. But if I'd been like a junior developer, you'd be going down that path and only find out this stupid thing doesn't work. So, and then security and privacy are as a concern. It's still, there's the example of ChatGPT and people uploading like proprietary code, and then all of a sudden it's in the public domain. So certainly don't use it if your company should have a policy if you can use it or not. And I wouldn't break company rules. So loss of context. I think it's pretty good with context. I'm really surprised. Like what I like with ChatGPT, you can start chatting with it, come back later, or like I have lots of different threads, and you can come back to an old thread and bring up a question before, and it remembers the context of that question. So not perfect, but pretty good. Maintenance helps you find bugs in some of your code. And then the other caution is license and compliance that we've already talked about. So Co-Pilot is the one that's really for developers. So I use both. ChatGPT is kind of asking questions. Co-Pilot is very similar, but it's integrated into your IDE. So the cool part of that is if you sign up for it, you can just have it in your Visual Studio Code or IntelliJ, and you can start leveraging it right then. I'm still learning a lot of the cool things with it, but so far I've been pretty impressed with it. I think some of the cool things, again, is like real-time code suggestions. So like you can type in a function you're going to do, and it will type out the rest of it, or at least give you a template of what to do. The other thing, well, comments to your code. I think that one I want to do some more on, because that's, again, another thing we always fall down. Commit generation messages. That's another comment one. I mean, if you're like where I work a lot, comments are really stupid on the commits. You don't know what it was. So it would be nice if it's something intelligent there that when you went back in, help you review it.
It's interesting. What if it could analyze all the changes between your two commits and then like write it without the prompt?
Yeah, I think that's what it does.
It does do that?
I think that's what it's supposed to do. But I haven't really tried that part out. But that's one of the features they highlight. So
Write your release notes for you.
yeah, or at least make your commit messages more useful, because it says what you did.
Yeah.
Also correct if you're lying. You're trying to hide something. And said, no, he didn't really do this. He did this. He said he fixed this bug, but it didn't really fix it. He just said a to-do in it. The one I'm excited about is generate testing methods. So unit tests. I'm still playing with that. There's examples of doing it. So I'm hoping to come back and show how you can really do that. Because that's always, at least in the organizations I'm in, unit tests are, they take too long. And so the excuse, then we never do them. And then you have all this technical debt. But now the excuse is gone. So it's like, if you write your code, it should be able to generate some unit tests and help you maintain it. Co-Pilot integrates very well with most IDEs now. And then it's supposed to filter for copyright infringement. So that's one of the big fears, right? Is that you're bringing in proprietary code or copyrighted code. It's supposed to filter that, so it shouldn't use that. So
You can also configure it so that it won't, any code you're working on won't be uploaded to whatever.
To the public or whatever.
Models that they're generating stuff.
yeah. Yeah, so that's good. So pricing, so this is the developer pricing. Individual $10 a month. Team is like $20 a month. And then enterprise is about $40 a month. And here's a URL that outlines that a little bit more. I think it's worth it. So I pay for myself. I also pay for ChatGPT. I think they're well worth the time and the effort. And I also have like an organization in GitHub, and anyone on my team, I pay for that too, because I think it's well worth it. So especially like if you bring it in new developers, I think it's a good way to help them see, standard ways of doing things, more productive. And then like I said, with unit tested, I think that would be a big help. I haven't tried like playwright tests. That's another one. That would be, to me, a little more challenging. Is like write a playwright test from my UI, my HTML page, or I'm not sure how it would do that. But I think you could probably use Co-Pilot, and if you had example ones, say, hey, I need another page object to do the following. Even if it creates a skeleton and you at least know where to start adding it, that could help. So the other feature that I've recently been using, which I think I'm really excited about, is Sonar Cloud. I don't know if everyone's used that before. There was Sonar Cube, which was an open source free tool that I've used before, and that you'd have to run it on your own infrastructure, but it could do code analysis, and you'd put it into your pipeline. And now Sonar Cloud's come out with a cloud version, and I think it's just so much easier to do. You have to worry about the infrastructure, and just out of the box, it gives you a lot of analysis. It has their own model. So here's our best practice. But then you can have your own kind of standards. Like if you have certain standards on loops and things, you can put those in there and enforce that in your organization. So integrates with your CI/CD, can analyze pull requests. So a lot of the old things we used to do with pull requests, the manual process, you can automate a lot of that. And then you can put in like quality gates. So your organization can say, hey, you can't push this code unless you have 80% code coverage. Or you can't push this code if the analysis is found in a security, in one of your shared libraries, there's a security vulnerability.
Critical.
So you could turn, and it just gets denied. And so then you have to push that. Whereas now most organizations are probably pretty reactive. You put it in there, and then Git might tell you later, hey, there's some, like I get lots of Git warnings on some of our old Ionic demos we did before. It's like, you need to fix this. So this just helps you be a lot more proactive. Security vulnerability detection, code duplication. So I'm going to show some stuff. I did get my Ionic stuff in, but I didn't get the code coverage stuff working. So I'm going to show another project I have. It's Java, but it'll give you an example of some of the stuff that it finds. And then, like I said, customizable quality gates can help you. And then it supports multiple languages. So like I said, I'll give a demo of Java, TypeScript, Python, most of the common languages it has models for. And the pricing, here's what I think the pricing, at least especially for independent developers or small organizations, it's not that costly. So single developer, 100,000 lines of code is about $160 a year. So it goes up quite a bit from that. So it's totally based on lines of code. And if you're a big organization with millions of lines of code, then it can go up from there. But if you think of the cost of maintaining things, the cost of reviewing stuff, I think it's well worth it. And now I've done this like on my own personal stuff, because I just pay for this. I'm well below the 100,000 lines of code, and it just catches stuff for myself or other people coming in. And the other thing, it catches like things in your libraries that you didn't know about, but it's like, oh yeah, I would like to get rid of that.
What does that mean, branch analysis, or what is that?
Well, it's misspelled, but yeah, it will like compare one branch to another. So you can introduce another branch, and I think you can do some comparisons. I'm not too sure. These are some of the features it just listed. I did see Sonar Lint you can sign that like to the plugin in Visual Studio Code, and it will go through your code and spot problems in the language, and then before you even push it, just say for this language, use this syntax.
Do you point it at the repo that or the PR that you're doing? I guess what I'm curious about is, how do you know what branch is going to? Does it check all the branches? Only one that you're working on?
Well, you set it up like I set it up for just the default branch, and then I think you can add other branches. I haven't done that yet, so I just have the default branch, and then when it gets pushed in, it will look at other branches, but does most of its analysis in on that branch. So what it does is it has an automatic analyzer, but if you really want, the recommendation is, like I use GitHub, so I use GitHub Actions. So you do GitHub action in your regular build, and so it does the build. That's where you can do your code coverage. It calculates all that, and then you add to your GitHub action like a Sonar token, and then it will push it up to your account. So in that workflow, you can put what branch you want to run on, because it's just a GitHub action. So I think all I have it right now is just on the main one, but you could put it on other branches and it would do that too.
Do you have it set up like you were saying, like a quality gate, or do you have it set up just to scan after?
I'm taking it has like there's a default quality gate that it comes out of the box, and it'll say like it failed. I mean, it doesn't prevent me from pushing it now, but you could enforce that in Git and say, if the quality gate failed, you can't push this to the default branch. Whereas right now, I just see it. You'll see it on the website, and it'll say pass, fail, and why. So, but yeah, a disciplined team, you'd want to put those in place. And then, well, I'll show you the cool part is like, it also reduces the finger pointing problem. Like, I don't know if you've ever been in a development team, there's a lot of finger pointing, like they're not following, I get that a lot. They're not following standards, but no one really specifies what those standards are. I love that, the standards, and it's just someone's opinion. It makes it much less subjective, and here are the standards. If you don't like those standards, you can go and change them. But especially to like a new developer that's coming in, it's pretty intimidating to go to the senior architect and find a spot that was kind of dumb, but you didn't know, but you don't want to ask. Where it just says, here's the problem, here's the remedy, fix it, right? So, okay, so let's see if I can, speaker notes. So I got them here. Okay. Oh.
Log you back out when you're done.
This is gonna be fun. Yeah, I forgot.
Oh, you gotta do two.
Yeah. Where's my phone? Yeah. I'm not gonna give it to you. Let's see. No. Log in. Oh, I know why. Because you're logged into GitHub probably.
Yeah, you can log me out. Of course.
Yeah. Sign up. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Just need Ionic to hire some full production crew with multiple camera angles and manage the production, switching screens and views. Last month I brought my tripod and used my phone. If you guys remember, I was flipping the phone around. It was a little easier for introductions, and it was a better angle for the presenter too. Staring down at your laptop camera, double chin up your nose, all those things. But
Well, Google, I mean, it's YouTube that foiled us this time, wasn't it?
with the live stream,
Yeah. And that's what, I mean, that was the.
it's StreamYard. It's StreamYard that links to Google to YouTube. Yeah, he got a prompt over here on his that said there's too many browsers logged in. Choose which one to log in, and that's kind of what we're expecting to see over here. That you could just bump his. Yeah.
Okay. So we're still showing my screen.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how do I get rid of this? Oh, hide here.
Yep.
Okay, so this is a Java REST API S3 doc service that I have as a proof of concept. And so this shows so I have the main branch, pull requests here. It looks at, so it checks for the changes. So here's the new code. And if you looked at, so the new code shows code coverage is about 81%. new issues. If you look at overall code, it'll show you like, here's some of the security and reliability issues. If we go like to high severity, okay, and look, it gives you like a rating. So a D, maintainability is an A,
And
reliability.
that's just from the changes.
Yeah, well, this is the overall
Oh,
together. If you look at the new code, yeah, it looks like it's just the overall grade of that. So if you go in and click at issues, it can show you like what the issues are. So in here, you come in here and it will list like the different issues. And then so like secure padding scheme. So, and if you look at it, it'll show you the code. So you can come in here and say, okay, you got this cipher here, use a secure padding scheme. So it makes it much easier, like assign a JIRA ticket and say, go fix this. And then you can say like, how can I fix it? And it can give you some examples here.
You get emails notifying you of vulnerabilities whenever something's pushed up.
Yeah, you can. I don't with this, but yeah, you
So
can set
you're
those
watching
up.
it. You just watch it and look at it.
Yeah. A lot depends on your pipeline. So you could
Mhm.
you could specify like if like these, you'd probably say, hey, this can't be checked in. And then the build would fail and you get a notification as to why. Yeah, but like let's look at the 20 issues. So some can be just, incomplete to do comment, better message for errors. Common one, don't use system out, so use a logger.
I mean, you have 2 high, and then the rest are medium and low.
Yeah.
And basically, the only one you really focus on are the high.
Yeah. So I haven't put the gates up to enforce them, but that's what you do is, and like I have, so if I go over here, so my projects, here's the reason I don't have this. I was in Bitbucket before, so all my Ionic stuff was in Bitbucket. And the last year I've been going to GitHub, but I didn't want to move my Ionic stuff until I found out Sonar Cloud. It will work with Bitbucket or Ionic, but it won't work with both at the same time. So you got to pick one or the other. It's happy to go to Bitbucket or happy to go to GitHub, but they don't currently support going to either both of them. So like here's where it says, based on this default quality gate, these all passed, and then this one failed. Let's see if I can figure out why this one failed. One failed condition. Oh, 0 code coverage. So this one doesn't have unit tests. So I'm sure no one else has that problem. So everyone, that's probably don't need that one, but
I don't get that error in my current pipeline.
yeah, your current pipeline is just fine. Yeah. Yeah, that's what it builds. What's the problem? We build and deploy it. Instead of shifting left, we tend to shift right,
Yeah.
test after it's deployed. So yeah, I hope to come back with a little more tools on this. So these are a few tools I'm using. And I've been really impressed with Sonar Cloud. We spent a big time using GitHub Advanced Security Scans. It's another paid service from GitHub. And it wasn't nearly as useful as this. So what it would do is scan your code, but didn't do any analysis or code coverage. What it would find is like, vulnerabilities in your libraries. It's kind of like the Dependabot thing, but more advanced. So it would tell you about security issues, or like if you put in a password or a key in your code, it'll mark that. But this will do the same thing. But I like this. I think is a lot more useful for a team. So I've been pretty happy with that.
Do you have you call it GitHub Actions? Doesn't sound like you're gonna show that tonight. Like a GitHub Actions pipeline. Well, that leverages Sonar Cloud.
Yeah, I could show you because I can show it to you right here.
I don't know how much you might have some other stuff.
No, that was pretty much it.
Okay. All right, I didn't want to sidetrack you.
No, that's fine. I was just thinking how because I was gonna bring my IDE, but I was thinking no, I don't need to do that. We can just go to like so let's see what was this on.
Yeah, you're in GitHub, right?
Yes, I'm already in GitHub, so we'll just go to GitHub Action.
Other tab.
Yeah, I'm just finding the one that I was looking at before, but we go look at any of these. So if I go to my organization, here are the repos. Okay, so like I can show you like these are Ionic. Well, this is Ionic app and this is a Node.js app. Now here's another thing with ChatGPT and Co-Pilot. I was going to show a demo of this. So one is you make a pipeline in Bitbucket, and the syntax is totally different. So logically, you can figure it out, and you could create it in GitHub Actions. But I thought, hey, let's try Co-Pilot. So I just cut and paste my Bitbucket and put it into Co-Pilot, and it generated a GitHub action. Doesn't totally work, but does most of it. So it's not totally fixed, but so like, for example, this is the one it converted and it skipped a lot of stuff. So I need to go back and fix this, but it did get some of the basic stuff, but that's not working. But if you look at Sonar, so Sonar, this is essentially a GitHub action. And here's what I was saying is you pick what branch. So when I do a push on main, it's going to run this Sonar Cloud, and this is pretty much just out of the box. They show you what to do. So it's running a Ubuntu container. You do your typical npm install. This is the part that's not working though. So do this test coverage, and then this is the Sonar scan that runs after the build, and then you get a secret from Sonar and put it in your organization. And then this is what ties it back, and then it sends it back. So let me get a better one that.
Just a quick question on this. I noticed you had it on pull request and on push. Is there a reason to do that? Like, why not just pull request? Because when it's merged, it's already done, right?
Yeah.
Can you still run them again?
Well, I think a lot will do it on when you open it, and it will scan it just before anyone looks at it. I'm just opening it. And then before anyone even looks at it, it'll just say, yeah, you opened it, but it's going to get rejected. So saving an architect or a lead going in. And by the way, this was like just the default that comes with like when they say, I want to do it, they gave me this. So like a lot of the ones I do, not with Sonar Cloud, but with just a GitHub action doing builds, I probably wouldn't do it on pull request. I just, when I push it into main, it just runs this. But we usually do like main and like a feature branch.
Wouldn't you want the opposite though? Wouldn't you want to stop when you're pushing it in? You want to check it before pushing?
Well, that's why I also put like the feature, like we usually have feature branch. So anytime a feature branch, it would run like all the unit tests and stuff again. And then on a merge, it just double checks it again. So
Is your deploy pipeline separate? Or does it get deployed after you merge in the main?
so the way I normally do it is I do it on main. So I like work in a dev branch, and then if you push it into main, it will do the build a container, and then deploy it. There's lots of different ways people can do that. Like you might have a release branch. So if everyone's in the default one, and then you can kind of, if you don't want it, I think the drawback of the default branch is if you don't want it to deploy all the time, or want to control that, or at least probably what you do is deploy to a test environment. It deploys all the time, and then how you set it up to deploy into prod might be different. Let's see if I've got so let's look at this other one that is a more. So like, sorry,
Ionic one.
I'm trying to do one that's not Ionic. Let's
Mhm.
see. Oh, okay. So like, here's a mono repo. So this was a mono repo with several Java microservices in it. And then in the Sonar Cloud, I treated each service as a separate one. So if you go in the workflows though, there's a whole bunch of workflows in here, right? So like, here's this S3 doc service that did that. Does it on a push to feature main. It runs. So in this case, it checks out the code. It does a Maven build, which is like an npm build. And it looks like we don't do a full deployment here, but what it does is it then pushes to we do a I don't know, this looks like a problem. Oh, that's just the checkout stuff. Okay. So it does a build, should run through the unit tests, and then it builds a container and then pushes the container to Docker image. And then deployment would be another step that I haven't added to here because it would be deployed in Kubernetes. But yeah, so and then the Sonar one, here's how the Sonar one works. It's one workflow, but then it uses this matrix, which essentially repeats it on any of these other services if they change. But this is doing a Java build, Java 17 build. And then it took us a little while to get this to work. But finally got the tokens and stuff. So it does this push, and then it will do a full build and send analysis there. And then the code coverage here. Here's the part that we needed to add. So out of the box, like with Maven, you have to add like Jacopo or something like that, a library, and you do this code coverage, which then does a build with this, and then sends that to Sonar Cloud. So, well, I hope maybe in a future one we'll get more into these because I'd like to see other people's opinions on their pipelines.
Yeah, I want to get that set up for some of my Ionic projects. Built on Firebase, get the GitHub Actions set up.
Yeah.
Run this kind of stuff.